Recently, here at Salesforce Bend, we interviewed Richard Good, the Enterprise Applications Director at Capita, one of the largest businesses in the UK. In this video, find out about their AI innovation and Agentforce implementation, as Richard gives us his Agentforce implementation tips that could help you in this new age of Agentforce agents.
So there's a few components for our Agentforce build. Because we're doing a retrieval augmented generation agentic bot, is dependent on data that's external to Salesforce. So for us in particular, we're using data from Workday for job vacancies and other employment data. That data is moved and staged into Data Cloud, and then the Agentforce bot is retrieving data from Data Cloud at runtime. Again, it's retrieval augmented generation. So what it's doing is building up the AI prompt by injecting additional data retrieved from Data Cloud as context into the response to arm it with additional information such as details of job vacancies, job descriptions, salaries, and then that is basically passed into the Agentforce model. What Agentforce is actually doing in that situation, so what's actually happening is it's building a prompt based on a prompt template. Now, a prompt template is something that our development team put together to give the bot guidance on what its role is, how to respond, what tone it should use, what kind of data it should include. So it's populating that prompt template with the correct information and the Workday data from Data Cloud. It then passes that data into the Salesforce Atlas layer, effectively the Salesforce proprietary AI system that deals with guardrails. And then effectively the language model usage behind the scenes is passing into usually OpenAI APIs. So GPT-4o, that responds into Atlas, and then it responds back with the response to the question or the information requested. So I guess the key building blocks there are the Atlas layer, which is doing the trust layer, the APIs behind the scenes that as a developer you never really see, by the way, which is what interacts with the language model, and then the retrieval, the RAG, retrieval augmented generation, using data from Data Cloud from Workday. So topics are one of the fundamental building blocks of a Salesforce Agentforce agents. A topic, I guess as the name suggests, is a role that the bot can perform. You may have a topic, for example, which is about retrieval of data from a knowledge base, frequently asked questions, FAQs, and so on. So if you want your bot to be able to interact with a human user and go and look up FAQ documents and respond, you would create a single topic which enables the bot with the instructions and the skills to go and retrieve FAQ document data. Now, topics, what we found so far and what Salesforce have recommended is you sort of need as few topics as you can get away with. So the bots can do multiple topics and it's very beneficial to do that. But if you give it too many topics, they can get confused and sort of trip over their own feet with too many tools at their disposal. I mean, a good analogy might be if you're a tradesperson or a builder and you've got a tool belt with 1,000 different tools on it, you're never going to quite know the right tool for the job. You're going to have the wrong size screwdriver at the wrong time. If you've got just the right number of tools at your disposal to do the jobs you're required to do and only the jobs you're required to do, it's much more efficient and the bot is much less prone to getting confused or selecting the wrong tool for the job. What Salesforce have recommended to us is if you have very, very different use cases for very different Agentforce bots, you're actually better sometimes to multiply out the number of bots you're using rather than multiplying out to continually increasing the number of topics that one bot is able to perform. So I guess within the topic, your bot can then perform a number of actions. You define an action in the prompt template and by enabling it to use things like APIs and other connectors to other systems. So for example, a bot might be able to take a customer service inquiry. It might be able to go and look up for customers' prior orders from your Salesforce database or another system of record. You would equip it with an action to go and do an inquiry to retrieve the customer's sales history and return that into the prompt so the agents can respond using that data. So you're basically equipping it with a number of actions to perform tasks. It's those actions that make the bots agentic effectively, that give it agency to go and perform tasks and do things at its own discretion rather than just chat with a user in natural language. Not a huge amount. It can be an area where you are quite exposed. And there's a couple of factors in that. The data side of things, a good agentic bot is really only as good as the data it can work with, the API calls it can make to systems of record, or the documents or websites or internal sites that it can ingest data from. If your data is a mess, then your bot is going to perform really badly. And I've heard a few, not quite horror stories, but some lessons learned from other Salesforce customers who have said when they first tried their Agentforce bot, they pointed at their entire knowledge base of their entire support base, and the bot was looking at articles that were 25 years old, buried on a server somewhere, and giving 25-year-old advice. So you do have to do a level of data, maybe data cleansing, data structuring, and make sure the data is appropriate and current. If you don't do that and just point your bot at what you think is all relevant business data, you're likely to get kind of suboptimal results. One of the things that we found certainly in recent months is the more you have within reason in a single org, the easier it is for an Agentforce bot to be able to interact across various different data domains, different business process domains, and so on. If you had a huge number of orgs split around your business with different Salesforce products in each one of them, it would certainly be a more complex integration to make an Agentforce bot work across that. I mean, it wouldn't be impossible, and it may be a good case where you would use Data Cloud, for example, to create a single layer of aggregation of data across all your different Salesforce systems to work with. But it is one people should consider carefully how fragmented your environment is. You've got a multi-org strategy, where the bot goes and what the bot gets access to and how it gets it. So I think harnessing that enthusiasm is key. A lot of people we show Agentforce to these days, both inside our organization and outside, they get very excited. They have lots of good ideas. They say, could the bot do this? Could the bot do this? And you really need to harness that enthusiasm and get people thinking, come up with ideas, and get them building. There's a lot of good material online to get people started. People can go to kind of a Trailhead content and other online learning content. And some of that can be quite hands-on. You get a chance to build bots and so on. So I'd encourage people to learn and develop those skills. Often traditional Salesforce knowledge isn't necessarily the best knowledge or the most applicable knowledge for designing and building Agentforce bots. What we found is more beneficial a lot of the time is a grounding in generative AI. So understanding the capabilities and concepts and limitations of a large language model, of an agentic and chat interaction, and concepts like RAG and other data-related techniques. That kind of learning isn't necessarily best done always via structured learning. What I'd encourage people to do is do your own research, immerse yourself in YouTube channels and other online content that gives you that grounding. And that gives people the ability really to come at designing and building Agentforce bots with a level of informed understanding.